All right, Fred, how's it going?
Not bad, not bad.
Okay, so first question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Lancaster, California. We left California when I was about 5, so I don't consider myself actually from California. We spent a lot of time as a family on the road. Um, my dad traveled around. He loved traveling around, and at one time we spent 9 years straight on the road. And hit California, places like Montana, Oregon, Washington. People used to ask us, "Well, is your dad in the military?" Like, no, he's not in the military. He just travels around a lot. At one time, I thought maybe he was running from somebody, but just what he likes doing. We traveled for a good amount of years.
All right, and mom and dad, were they both involved in your life?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually, as far as what I think, my family, my mom and dad were good parents. They had issues, just like anybody else, and actually some other people may consider them unfit parents, but maybe my dad at one point. But I'm not gonna get on that. But he. That's part of the part that made me think that he might have been running from somebody. But anyway, it's my parents are, especially my mom. My mom is wonderful. She died here just last year. But in my book, she's the best mom that ever could be. She was always there. She made sure that us 5 kids were taken care of.
From natural causes, I'm assuming, or where did she pass from?
Well, it was old age. It was bodily functions started to shut down. She got to the point where she fell twice, broke her hip, and of course she died when I was in we'll call it confined, and that's a bad feeling, not be able to be there for the person that you considered your best friend and your mom. It was a bad situation, and on top of that, it was the last month that I was being confined out of the 13 years.
That's horrible. Goodness gracious. Well, I'm sure she's, how they say, right, in a better place.
She will. I think she did good in that area. She will be remembered.
Okay, and so did you graduate high school?
I actually got a GED. I dropped out of high school, or dropped out of 8th grade, and I went back and got my GED. I had to get something, even though I don't think I really needed it. Not in the automotive industry. It doesn't seem like you really need to supply a graduate degree or anything like that. But that's what I do, is an automotive tech. That was the school that I was going through when the flywheel actually went through and broke my leg. But it's GED, tech school. I've been through a few other small, like horticulture. Got some studies in horticulture and stuff like that. But my main thing was automotive tech.
So, throughout from your childhood all the way to your late teens, to around 21-ish, was everything smooth and sailing? Nothing out of the norm? No hardships?
No, there's always been something about me, and I didn't really know it or believe it too hard until here in maybe the past 5 years. Something about me that well, it makes me who I am, but it also creates problems with dealing with society, you know, and dealing with people. I don't get along with people very well. I mean, I don't. The majority of your people that believe they're something, or you know, haughty, you might say, they don't want nothing to do with me, and I mean, I don't blame them. You know, that's their choice. But I still, to this day, am not quite sure what it is.
Do you enjoy being alone?
I do to a point, but then after a little bit, it's like I'm missing out. You know, I'm missing out, and because overall, I mean, I like being around people. I like to help people when I can, but it's create issues in my life that I just made me want to start using drugs. You know, especially the more things that happen, the more they happen, the more I use drugs. The more I use drugs, the more I was hooked on them. And different types of drugs, especially this last one that I got hooked on was the fentanyl, or what they call the blues, the blue demon. And it makes you want more, and you're going to wind up doing whatever you have to get it. And of course, you know that brings problems, it brings issues. You start taking things that don't belong to you. And I often put myself in their shoes, thinking, why do I do it? You know. But there's things happening in my life that make me makes me sick. Okay. And of course, then when I start feeling like that, I feel like using drugs, and it's just a vicious cycle. You're stuck in a circle that you can't seem to get out.
What does it do for you? Does it stimulate your brain? Does it make you feel drowsy? What does that specific fentanyl drug do to the human body, or per se you specifically?
Actually, it's the thing you're chasing is the very first time you had it, the very first time you smoked it, and that's how I was introduced into it, was smoking it. And after that first high, and that's what I was searching for, was a different kind of high to try to alleviate, to be honest with you, alleviate problems, alleviate tensions, alleviate, you know, thoughts. And then after that, you're just you're feeding it to feel right, to feel normal. And you're stuck. You're just keep on going, doing. You'll go steal over here to get, because you can't work. I can't work on it. I can't seem to work on it, you know, as far as holding down a regular job. So you get the money however you can get it. And I know from the gate that's not the right way to do it, but how do you get out of a situation like that when you're in it? You got to get help. You have to search out help. I know you do. And I am to the point, I even got an address to a doctor over on 3rd Avenue. It's, the address is still in my backpack, and I'm kind of dragging it out. I still haven't gone over there yet, you know, thinking what's it going to take to get off of this fentanyl, but that's not going to solve the problem. The problem is what made me get on the fentanyl. So, and it's me. It's, you know, things that's happened in my life that I've created or done. I've spent 20 years. If you counted all the time I spent in prison and jail, I spent 20 years in jail and prison. And that's a big chunk out of 54 years. you know, and that's of course going to be at the 20 years and above. I mean, that's a grip of time out of your family, out of your you lose a lot of valuable minutes spending with your brothers, your sisters, your children. My children don't even know me. I mean, they know me, but you know, and that was, I have nobody to blame but myself. Nobody to blame.
Who introduced you to that specific drug?
To the fentanyl?
Yes, sir.
It was somebody on the street. It was just a street person. They specifically, I'm not going to give any names, but and that's how it usually reaches, how it starts spreading out. Is somebody didn't have my meth, you know, I didn't got no meth, but I got this, you know. So and it's just everybody knows that once you get hooked on them, you're done, you know. And I haven't quite figured out how to, other than reaching the heart and getting help. I was to the point, I'm not even sure if it'll work or not, but I've been thinking about it a lot here. Just buckle down, find a hole in the ground somewhere, and hopefully it wouldn't take more than a week, and just go through the withdrawals. But I don't know if that's going to work or not. I mean, it gets pretty jittery at times. This last time I went without for 2 days, and it was I barely picked my body up off the ground. You know, when needed, I can act pretty fast, but for you to hold down a job, you can't hold down a job like that. You can't, you know, can't do normal things that you would with your family or your friends, or you. But I would like to find out how to get off of them. And once I do, let other people know, you know, because it's not a good place to be.
At what age did you first start experimenting
with drugs?
Yes, sir.
Oh, and do you consider alcohol a drug?
It can be, yes.
Well, then it was 5 years old.
Really?
Believe it or not, yeah, I was 5 years old, and my dad drank whiskey. It was a normal part of mom and dad, but mainly dad. He would have his bottle of VO on the seat of the truck, and I snatched it up along with a pack of cigarettes and slid under the truck and started smoking and drinking. And he grabs me by the heels, drags me out, and starts making me eat some cigarettes. Yeah, and he didn't make me drink any more whiskey or anything like that, but he made me eat some cigarettes. It's supposedly supposed to make you not want to smoke after that, but that doesn't do any good. Again, you gotta make sure the person that's learning the lesson knows why he learned it, knows what he did, he or she. They have to have information in order to be able to reach the heart. They have to, no matter what it is, no matter what age you are, you have to have that information before you can make a conscious decision.
From that moment, so were you just maybe curious to continue experimenting with these type of adult things, or how did you view the alcohol, or you know what I mean, that whole process that began at a young age?
Mm-hmm. Well, at first, like I said, 5 years old, it was more of a curiosity. Okay. After that, it was what it did to me. The first time that I can remember after the 5-year-old incident was I got drunk, and the heaving and all that kind of part I didn't like, but the drunk part I liked. I was a hook. It would get me quick, and it became a everyday part of my life. It was just like having one of my kids around. It was something that I had to have. And but at that time, I was a functional alcoholic when I had my children, and everybody could tell you, Fred didn't go anywhere without his beer. I love my children, and unfortunately, I went to prison and all that, and some things happened in my life that I didn't have contact with them like a normal father should, you know. And but of course, the alcohol, it got to where it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Or the beer at first. It was beer at first, and then I switched to alcohol, something a little stronger, and I was drinking a case and a half of beer a day. Easy. That's when nothing bad happened. Something bad happened, I was getting sloshed, and there's no telling how much beer I consumed. But it switched to whiskey, and I worked. I started on a pint, and worked myself up to a half a gallon at every buy. And that half gallon would be gone in 24 hours, and I'd be standing in line at the liquor store when it opened up at 10:30, 10:30, and then the whiskey started doing to where I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. You're always reaching out, always, because it doesn't quite alleviate all the problems that go on inside the brain, and that's when I started using methamphetamines. Back then they called it crank, and I started snorting it, and then I started smoking it. Then somebody introduced me to a point, a syringe, and that was it. That's where I found a lot of what I thought was relief, but it was just covering over, masking over a life's worth of problems. But you take it intravenously, take anything intravenously, and you get immediate reaction. And but at one point I even seen it as my new marriage mate was methamphetamines. But I was just started having more problems with it too, you know. Got to where, and it took me a while to figure this out. They got to where I was over-amping, that's what they call it. And you could do a shot, I don't care how big it was. And I was doing some hefty, I would do a shot that would take away my sight for 10, 15 minutes. And then it would gradually come back. But I would do a shot, and I would get what they called the high, the initial reaction, but I wouldn't get the legs. In other words, it wouldn't keep me up. I would literally be on the floor without energy. I remember being on the street here in Phoenix, Arizona, on the street, laying on the curb, just hoping that a cop there would come over and arrest me and take me to some place where I could get help. Nothing. I went to the hospital. I couldn't find out what was wrong with me. They just released me, but it got to where I figured I needed a downer to go with my upper in order for it to do what it was initially when I first started using methamphetamines. So I got hooked on heroin doing that, and fentanyl will do this pretty much the same thing. It just seems like it's got a different type of withdrawal symptoms, and it's in my book it's even worse than heroin. But yeah, some duties. But it's going to take some time. But I keep on thinking that address and to that doctor is going to be the first wave of. I think that may have something to do with it. I'm hoping it does anyway. Whenever I reach my point, and every day that I get up, every morning I get up, I'm thinking, and it's in my thoughts. Is this the day? Do I call her? Do I try to get over there? I know where the address is. It's pointed. It's got a big star on the address, and it's pointed over there at 3rd Avenue, and I think Indian School. And but it's going to have to be soon. I
was going to ask, are you optimistic then? It sounds like you're optimistic about changing your ways and.
Yeah. Like I said again, I gotta be to the point where I know, hey, this ain't it. This ain't it. I'm on the wrong road. You gotta be passionate about it. You gotta be resolved about it. Hey, this is it. I gotta do this, you know. And I don't feel like I'm quite there. But what's it gonna take? You know, what is it really gonna take for me to get my life straight? But anyway, it's a difficult path.
Fred, you mentioned that you've been incarcerated before. Do you mind detailing what you went for?
It was a couple of different times, actually 5 total. But it was for stealing copper wire. They called it burglary in the 3rd degree ×2, and trafficking in stolen property, which was, from what they said, my signature at the recyclers. But you don't need to sign to. But I guess it's just selling the actual product, the copper, at a recycler's that you've stolen, is trafficking in stolen property. So.
Was that an old job or something? Did you go to an old job to do that, or where did you get that from?
I learned it from somebody else on the street, somebody I knew in Glendale. Because once you're at the point where you're using these drugs, you really don't want to work, you know. But the work that it requires to get the copper is even more labor involved than it would be holding down a job. It's just that you can do it at your own time. So that may be a big part of why I was doing it.
Where was the copper at?
Different. You could go to a place like this and get it, in the walls, in the floors, in the ground. You see the water meters out there with cages on them? Well, they have cages on them for a reason now. They didn't used to have cages. People, and I say people, we'll still say people, would go and just rip them out of the ground. Those meters are mainly brass, and the pipes are copper. So, you would probably make around $35 on something that probably cost them $2,500 to fix, or even more, But damaging, making a lot of damage. But I mainly did all my stuff industrial, having the thought of, these people, they're not the average Joe at a house. You don't want to do that, because I didn't want to do that, because you're risking somebody getting hurt. What if you put yourself in their place? What if that was you? What if that was your family? So I separated myself from the family type setting and went industrial. And I had the thought of, industrial, their insurance will cover it. You're going to do it when they're not there. So it alleviates the problem of possibly getting in a conflict with somebody and somebody getting hurt over your idiocy, you know. It's so yeah, I do all my stuff industrial when I did it.
How long were you in prison for the first time?
First time was they gave me a 7-year sentence. It was out of Oklahoma, but it wasn't. I hadn't reached the point back then of what I have now. It was. I was back when I was drinking and just started using crank, and I led the Tulsa Police Department on a 45-minute chase around Tulsa for no reason. I jumped in a truck, stole it. I was just, in my mind, I'm losing it. I'm thinking crazy stuff. I wasn't sure where I was going, what was going to happen. I just jumped in a truck and started ramrodding all over the place, you know. But anyway, they wound up. I was looking at 56 years over that. Yeah, they shot at me and everything. Shot my back window out because I made like I was going to run them down in their vehicles. And at the last second, I knew what I was going to do. At the last second, I veered off and went between a stop sign and a fence. And that's when they shot at me. Shot my back window out, and or the back window of that stolen vehicle. And I wound up doing my first bit of prison time on that.
You said you went to prison a total of 5 times?
5 times. The first 3 were over that incident that I just mentioned. It was just getting out and then returning on revocation or parole, when they yank your probation. And I'd say parole, but it wasn't parole that I was on. It was like community supervision here. And the second, because it was only 2 different incidences that caused me to go back to prison. The one here in Arizona and the one in Oklahoma. So when the one in Oklahoma got done, I came here, and that's when I started burglarizing industrial yards for copper. And that I went down my first initial time. I went down for 10 years and 1 day, and got released on community supervision. I knew what I was going to do. I started in it again. I started using, and because the problem had not been fixed yet, you know. So I went back and done what they call killed my sentence, which took another 2.5, 3 years, 3 years, something like that. And but when I walked out, it was the sentence was completely finished. I'd done 13.5 years on a 13-year sentence.
Wow, that's a good chunk of your life, Fred. What was your first day like, if you remember? Do you remember that?
Going to prison?
Yeah.
It was very interesting, scary, and because I'd been in prison before, so I knew what to expect. But it was, you look back on it, it was kind of humorous because I remember being in the chow hall. I think we were eating breakfast because there was hot coffee involved. Had these retherms keep the hot coffee in. Got these plastic necks. Well, I wanted to fill up my soda bottle. Went to fill it up. Had to raise up on the retherm and applied pressure on the neck, and it snapped it. Coffee started spewing out all over the place. Well, it's got these 4 snaps on the lid that keep it held down that were loose. And this guy came over to try to help me and everything, and the retherm fell back and dumped 10 gallons of coffee everywhere. I mean, my first day, and I'm going, what do I do? So I just calmly go over to the mop closet and get the mop bucket and the mop and just start cleaning up. What am I gonna do? You know, can't run anywhere.
That's one of your.
Yeah. So that was my first day. Yeah. But even in prison, I couldn't get along with. I mean, I can get along with certain people, and I would associate with a small crowd. But I'm just, I would talk about what I wanted to talk about, and I was done. I would just get to say what I was going to say, and that was it, and I was done. When it came down to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, or trying to have a conversation, and other than being just natural, I'm not good at that. I start to get to this feeling to where something's wrong, and I'll put myself in a corner somewhere. You know, I'll isolate myself, because I know a lot of people don't want to talk to me. Because I'm different. I'm a weirdo, so they would say. And to one point, I mean, I understand. There's something wrong with me. I believe there is. But I just have to learn how to get over that.
Outside of the drugs and all these negative things that are going on, who are you, Fred? What would you want? You know what I mean? Like in your life, do you have like a goal that you want to reach? Is there something that you're say, you know what I mean? You're done with this. Where do you see yourself? What do you think about? You know what I mean? And I don't know, the next 3-4 years for yourself.
That's a difficult one to answer, because I've almost reached a point in my life where I have no goals. As far as in my book, my children are raised and gone now, but by their mother.
Do you have a relationship with them right now? Your kids?
I haven't even talked to them.
How long has it been?
It's been 15 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I have this real bad procrastination type thing that I haven't even called my sister since I've been out of prison, and that's 10 months ago. I haven't called my sister.
How do you feel about that?
It bugs me. But yet I still haven't done it. I mean, it doesn't take but a phone. I've had a few. I had the chance, and I tried to call her, but I couldn't figure out the phone. I couldn't figure out. I don't have her phone number. I even seen her picture up on the reel on the phone, but I couldn't find the number. The number, they weren't giving me the number. She didn't have it listed or something like that. So and I don't have her address. I just have her name. I can pull her up on the phone, but I just haven't called her, and I need to call her. I got her, my other sister Kathy, my brothers Bo and Scott, but she's always been the one to reach, because she's always been the one that keeps everybody connected, you know. But I have to get in a situation where I get like pay some of my old debts off, you know. Make that my goal, you know. My last years, try to be somebody, not worry about what other people think, you know, because once I get in that situation, I just start folding like a seesaw. It's terrible. But you got to know that bad things are going to happen, and just deal with it. You know, when it does, deal with it, but not through the syringe or anything like that. It's you have to learn how to deal with it on your own. Not saying on my own, because you always need people. We need people. We were made to associate with other people. Okay.
Do you feel like either rekindling with your kids or your sisters
Yes.
maybe might get the ball rolling for you to the positive type of, you know what I mean, environment, or what do you think?
I'm worried that my son and daughter, especially my son, may not want to start back a relationship because of how long it's been since I've been, in contact with him. But
I think he misses his dad. I think he misses his dad.
Well,
You only got one.
yeah.
You don't have 2, 3, or 4, man. You know.
My ex-wife got remarried 8 times in 8 years, and that didn't do very well on the children, because it confused them, is what it did.
At a young age.
Now, and my son hates my mother, or my ex-wife. He hates her, which is not a good thing for a boy to, well, man now. You can't think that way about your mother. That your mom is your, in my book, in my life, my mom was my best friend. You know, she's a pillar of a person that's in your life. You look to for encouragement, for direction, and our family did have a lot of problems, though. So it's just incorporated along with a lot of problems that I have up here. It doesn't go very well with dealing with people. I have, and it seems the more mistakes that happen, the more I want to use. It's just I gotta find something. I gotta find it quick, or there's no hope. You have to have something in your life that's worth you continuing on. And I don't think it's right for anybody to commit suicide. But the thought had rolling through my head several times.
Please don't ever do that.
I know, and it would be a stupid, selfish thing to do. But when you're in a situation that in that type of situation, sometimes desperation just makes you do things that you don't want to do. But I know, I got to continue thinking, hey, that's no way out. That's not the way out.
Would you be open to reunite with your kids or your sisters?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So on your side, you'd be fine with it. You're just a little bit scared on what they're thinking about it, maybe.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about.
Is it because of the influence that their new parents that took over? Maybe do you think that they embedded something in their head, or do you just think it's been so long?
I think it's been so long, and it's also due to something that's happened in my life that it separated me from my children, and something that I don't want to get into.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, but it was a bad situation, and it's all due to things that's happened in my life. I mean, I'm not blaming it on them, but it was a bad situation that could have turned into something worse. Things that well, let me just make it cut to the chase and say it was something sexual. But it wasn't. My children never. There's no ever problem with the. It's just something that happened sexual with somebody else. And it was a bad situation. I don't even know how else to put it. But it was just an act of touching somebody. That was it. That was it. Nothing else happened. But it was where I was here at the time. And from that moment, I destroyed my life.
Do you feel they might hold that against you? Is that what you're saying, maybe?
Well, I was actually brought to a court over that and everything, and they realized that for what I was charged with, and that nothing happened, so they dismissed the charges. But in my mind, I know where I was. It's nothing happened, but it could have. And that was at a point in time where I was completely obliterated on meth, alcohol, everything else. But I look back at that moment and I'm thinking, what makes a person get to the point where they're thinking of stuff like that? You can't, where does it come from? I don't, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not that kind of person. I don't do stuff like that to kids.
It's almost evil, right?
Huh?
It's almost evil.
Yeah, it's
evil, right?
But we have to be careful. We have to be cautious about what we take in, what we watch, what we listen to, what, there's things that are okay, sexual relations between you and your wife. Yeah, it's fine. But you start thinking of other things that and the hell of it is people sit there and they'll run it on a computer program of, what do they call that now? They're asphyxiating, they're choking people out and killing them while they're having sex with them? What is wrong with our society? And the bad point is there's people that purchase these videos because that's what turns them on. Well, that person there needs to stop and be an honest recalibration of what's going on up here. You need to, there's certain things that we think of, anybody, I don't care who you are, everybody has these thoughts that you need to get that thought out of your head. I don't care who you are, everybody has them. You got to get rid of that. And there's people that run these programs on your TV that'll bring stuff like that up for you to for you to dial in on and watch them. That's terrible. That's bad. And unfortunately, I fell into that trap.
Fred, I think because it's especially your family, time heals all, you know what I mean? No matter what it is. And I understand. I think as men too, for whatever reason, we're just so, how do I say, we're not as social as maybe women to bring up subjects like this and try to fix it like as quick as we should maybe, you know what I mean? For whatever reason, men are just more macho and, you know what I mean? I'd rather deal with it later. And I catch myself doing it, the same thing, procrastinating and just, even though it might be very important, for whatever reason, our human nature, we're just, I don't know why we're like that, But I'm pretty sure they have to miss their dad, you know what I mean? And they have to miss their brother, you know what I mean? And 10 months, have you been homeless since you got out?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been homeless since I've been out.
What was so when you got out, what did you do? Did you try to get a job, or were you just happy to be free? What was that like?
Well, I was pretty much stuck in the same situation. I was happy to get out, happy to be free, but I knew I was going to get back in it again. I knew I was going to start, because like again, the initial problem hasn't been fixed yet, or attempted to be fixed, or you know, I once you get once you once you get in this situation, it's like if you don't, you got to make them steps, and I just haven't been making them steps, and that's not easy when you can't contact your family because of, I'm not even sure how to run most of these new. I can't operate a phone. I mean, I don't know. One of these phones is different. That's. Can we go back to that kind of phone?
More simple, right?
Yeah, just pick it up and.
Everything is touchscreen now.
Yeah, touchscreen. You got to be a computer genius just to. I mean, you don't have to. I know you don't have to. It's pretty simple, but I just I haven't had a phone. Haven't got a phone yet, so it's like I was disconnected from humanity for a good grip of time. You know.
You did 20 years total, you said.
Yeah, a total in my entire life. But this last time it was a 13 and a half year stretch.
What did you do?
I got out for that one. I got out for like 3 months.
What did you do for that one again?
Burglary in the third degree ×2. That was stealing the copper wire, and then trafficking and stolen property, which was taking the copper that I sold to a recyclers and selling it.
How did you get caught?
Carelessness. They were the last time when they caught me before I went in was the owners of the business got on top of the roof and called in the police when I came over the fence, and that works. I recommend to any business that's having problems with people coming and breaking in their that would do it. People start going to prison, they start thinking about things, you know. But again, then they have a problem too. They got to find out what their problem is.
Right. Do you still indulge in the drugs today heavily?
Yeah.
What's the main drug of choice today?
The main one is basically because I have to have it. As far as I'm concerned, I can't even function without it, and that's the blues.
The blues?
Mm-hmm. But I got to have the blues with the methamphetamines, because without the methamphetamines, it doesn't seem like I can't get up and actually do something. I can get up and do something. I mean, I literally, my energy inside me, I wish a doctor would be able to show me exactly what it is that's going on and help me, you know, maybe that would help me get off of it. But it's to the point where I can't even get up off the ground. If I was out without for a good number of hours, like a couple of days, 2 days, I just got some. So before you seen me, I was barely even dragging myself around.
You took some today?
No. Just before I met you, I had to get some. But it'd been a couple of days before that before I had any. But I'm to the point where I have to, like the heroin before, have to have the heroin with the methamphetamines in order for me to function right. Because I literally don't have any energy at all. Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, this is the drug you chose. At least with alcohol, it was you wake up and it would be gone the next day. You know, you may have the urge to drink, but you wouldn't have any type of symptoms like having to peel you off the floor. I mean, literally no energy at all. Only way you could probably get some energy is if something was threatening your life at that time, that moment, and you got that what do they call it, the flight or fight syndrome? You know, how you something gives you the energy to do something, you just do it, and then of course it was gone after that. But yeah, fentanyl is not a not a very pleasant drug to be on.
What advice do you give to the kids that are curious about this drug and would maybe possibly want to take, participate in the use of this drug? What advice would you give to kids?
What?
What advice would you give to kids?
Oh, what advice?
Yeah, if for the ones that are curious, right? That want to know how it feels, and
Well, see, they have these skits on this type of thing every day, and you see these children learning from other people, and they giggle and they laugh. They think it's funny. Hey, you guys need to look at this. This is not something to to play with. Once you get here, you'll be looking back at what somebody said to you, and you'll be going, "Why didn't I listen?" You need to stop and listen now, because that's no place to be. It's a place. It's like a prison that you can't ever get out of. I wouldn't recommend ever using any kind of drug. I mean, especially types of drugs like heroin and fentanyl that are you're gonna have bad problems. Stay away from them. Deal with your problems. Get help. Talk to people. Talk to people that'll help. But yeah, stay away from the fentanyl.
And maybe one last thing, Fred, if you could give any advice to your old self, if you have no regrets, or I don't know, if, you know what I mean, just some type of message, what would you say?
That would be rough. I've actually thought about that before. What could I say, or what would I say that would work?
And what do you listen?
Yeah, exactly. What could I say, or what would I say, or would I listen? I'm not so sure if I have that answer. I mean, I've actually even thought about that several times for a good amount of time. Do things have to happen? Bad things have to happen in order for you to learn a lesson? But when you do learn that lesson, is it too late? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have to live life. Live life and deal with the bad things along with the good things. But don't deal with them on using drugs. People use drugs for excitement because everybody's doing them, because they give you a good, funny feeling. It's a bad way to go. It's a rough way to go. You'll be regretting it the rest of your life.
All right, Fred. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming here and sharing your, a fraction of your life with me. I appreciate it. I feel like the viewers will appreciate it too. We can always learn from each other. I'm just trying to, raise awareness on what can go on, right, with the dangers of these type of drugs and life decisions, right? Just things that I feel like we all go through or are presented with at one point in time, and you did an incredible job, displaying that, for this amount of time. So thank you again, Fred, and I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.